Hey everybody, Robert with RC Archery, and you're watching Tuesday's Tip of the Week number 69. In this week's video, we're going to be starting a new form development series. In this series, it's going to be a multi-video part segments that allow us to be able to pinpoint areas of our form that will help break down what I feel is most necessary for accuracy and to develop the natural point of aim that I like to be able to use within my shot style. Everything that I do is built around a natural point of aim left and right and up and down, and helping me stay as close to the middle as possible and eliminating as much drift away from that as possible as well. So in this form series, we're going to be mostly looking at our stance, how that stance actually controls our hips and then our shoulders, and what that does to our shot, and as far as looking at a natural point of aim left and right and our shoulder stability as well. So this one is a fun video. It's encompassing a lot of key areas. It's a baseline of what I feel like is most important to be successful, but there will also be a lot of kind of carryover moments that when we're doing the rest of this form series, you're going to be able to look back at this and say, oh hey, that's why he wanted us to do that. Now this makes more sense, and this is helping me with my shooting a whole lot. If you would like an all-encompassing one video that's about an hour long that goes over every trick, tip, everything that I do with form, adjustment, and alignment with people that I coach or work with, or what I've done on myself personally, that video is one that I've already made. I sell that video, and I have down below in the description of this video a code that if you will email me that code name, I will give you that video for $15 and save you 10 bucks versus 25 like normal. So take advantage of that, guys. You don't have to be a member of this YouTube channel to be able to get this benefit. This one's for everybody. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, guys, to get this started, we need to come up with a baseline in the way that we are handling our stance. The first thing that I like to do with archers is teach a neutrally open stance. The reason I do this is for a couple things. One is if we have our front foot where the end of those toes are lining up somewhere with the balls of our feet on our back foot, so the one furthest away from the target, this is allowing us to be able to, one, clear our bow arm, so that forearm that you see a lot of people get string slap on, it helps us clear that, but it also creates a natural triangle to where that our bow shoulder is being able to be stabilized because of how we're being able to open up. A lot of people I will see will have their stance closed off, meaning that their front foot is ahead of their rear foot. When you do that, it actually takes away a ton of the stability in our bow shoulder because we're actually eliminating a lot of the muscles that we're using in that shoulder to hold steady because we're having to turn our arm almost behind us in a sense, and it really takes away from the overall accuracy of what we're looking for. The second thing with this is I like to maintain this stance or as close to it as possible throughout the process because I want to try to keep the distance from our hip down to the ground on our left and our right leg as similar as possible. Now, you may have seen some people when they're shooting, they take their front foot and they pull it way far back. And when they do that, they're doing this to adjust to where they're more open to the target, where their chest is facing more towards the target. And they're doing this to help with potentially the amount that they're pulling and wanting to pull themselves off target, and they're compensating for that and they're adjusting for it, which is a good thing. But when we take just one foot and move it that far back, we're actually shortening the distance from the ground to that hip. So what we end up with is an imbalance in our spine and with our hips there, and it can cause some pain and it can cause some harm to our bodies and our shot and everything else long term when we're looking at it that way. So I like to try to stay as close to this neutrally open stance as possible, and then from there I want to start working on eliminating drift. All right, so what do I mean by eliminating drift and why is that important? So when I'm looking at eliminating the drift that we're seeing on target with this drill, I'm looking at eliminating it on a horizontal plane, so left and right. And the reason that this is important is the way that I set up is a natural point of aim to the center of the target. And that starts as I'm drawing the bow, settling into anchor, working through my shot. And then if I have a long hold, it allows me to stay closer to the center of the target instead of drifting off of it. It also helps a lot when we marry that with our shot execution that we'll talk about in a different series. And it helps stay in the middle of the target as we're actually executing the shot. So when we are working this way of looking at archery, it's not the close your eyes and draw the bow and then see where you're at. I think that that can set your body up in a way that is at an extreme when we're looking at opening our bodies to the target, closing it off, or changing our foot position. What I do instead is I work off of a system of drawing the bow back while we're looking at the target, getting into the middle, and then working from there through this series of events to be able to eliminate our pin wanting to drift off the target left or right. Now, in this week's subscription video for the members of my YouTube channel here, you are going to get to see a step-by-step process of how I work through this, what that looks like, and how to do it yourself at home. You will be able to actually take everything that I'm saying, take this to a target with your bow, and replicate exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not already a member of this channel and you would like to be to see this content and then others as well exclusive to you, there's a link down in the description of this video. It will go over what you get as far as the different tiers that we have. We have 2 different tiers, what you get with each one, and how that is set up. If you're already a member of this channel, we added a second tier, so there's 2 now, and if you would like to go back and look at that, you can go into your membership and you can pick and choose if there is a different one that maybe is better suited for what you're wanting out of your membership. So why is eliminating drift important to you? Well, one, it's going to help you be able to draw and get on target quicker. If we're not having to draw the bow and then find the center of the target, we can take our entire shot window and shrink that down, sometimes by 1 or 2 seconds, depending on how off you've been. And that's important because 1, our breathing pattern is going to be a lot smoother, and 2, we're not building up the same amount of lactic acid within our body and creating issues with our accuracy. And the other thing that may happen is from time to time, you're gonna draw back, you're gonna get on target, and your shot is gonna fire early. And if we're already at that center of the target naturally, then we will be closer to the middle of the target when we have that moment happen. And it's going to happen for all of us. If it hasn't happened to you yet, you're lucky. It will eventually. Whether that's at a tournament or not, it's gonna happen. Now, the other thing to look at too is a lot of us, especially when we're nervous or if we're in a hunting situation and we're actually having to hold for a very long amount of time and our shot window is expanding over what it normally is, that is also when eliminating drift is really important, because then our body isn't trying to pull itself off the center of the target, or when our muscles are breaking down, we're not naturally drifting off the center of the target. Our body will already be in a position to hold us there in the middle. It will be easier. You'll be able to hold there longer, and then you won't drift away from it as quickly or as drastically if you follow the correct method in being able to eliminate that drift. Okay, guys, the next thing that I want to talk about here is what we're doing with our stance and how it relates to the biomechanics of what we're doing in archery. Now, biomechanics is just the way that our body is working within itself and the setup of it to allow it to work for you or against you. Now, for me with archery, everything that I have done has been to get as close to 100% biomechanic efficiency as possible, which is the entire basis behind my form in this form series. And what I'm looking for is straight lines, because straight lines are strong lines. When you have a bend, when you have just something that takes away from the straightness of what we're looking at throughout this series, that is a break point that will allow you to have a variance from one shot to the next. So think in the beginning when we were talking about setting up our stance, when you have your feet way far back, that foot position being way far back makes our hip joint and makes our body change and move. And from one day to the next, muscles change, joints can change, heat, expansion, different types of shoes we're wearing, or the terrain that we're standing on can all affect what we're looking at there. So again, that neutrally open stance that I talk about, and then rotating, and while we're maintaining that neutrally open stance with using our heels to rotate with that, that is allowing us to have a straighter line from our hip through our legs, through our feet, and down into the ground. That also is allowing us to have a better position to create our body's natural draw length. And that is the biggest principle behind why starting with our stance is a huge factor of what we're doing here. Our body has a natural triangle when you look at it, either from above or below whenever we're shooting. Our body is in this angle, our arm takes this angle, and then the string coming back creates the final part of that triangle. If we are adjusting our stance from one shot to the next and we are consistently starting in the same position, then that triangle changes. The angles of it, the openness of it, the closedness of it, all of that will change. And when that changes, it changes the direction that our shoulder is going, and that is changing how far back the string comes on our face. So our body's natural draw length is what we need to adjust the bow to in order to be able to have the most comfortable, repeatable shot. So you may find that while you're doing this and adjusting our stance and eliminating that drift off the middle of the target while you're holding on it, that you may need to adjust your draw length after. And that's okay. Most of the time when I'm working with an archer with coaching, if they're not just extremely close on their stance to start with, they will have to adjust their draw length. If you're way off on your stance, you may be off half an inch on your draw length. The other side to that is our shoulder has a ginormous amount of range that it can adjust for our draw length. I can comfortably shoot very easily a couple inches shorter than what I do now, and probably at least another inch longer than what I have now as well. Now, I won't shoot the same scores. I won't be as accurate. It will be harder for me to shoot my bow, but my shoulder can expand and contract along with that scapula moving back and forth towards the spine or away. So finding that natural point of aim, building our stance up, keeping ourselves as close to the middle as possible and not drifting off of it, that's going to help us build off of this series and build on our draw lengths. We will, throughout this series, we're going to have some touch points. I'm going to go over some draw length symptoms for you, some loop length symptoms for you, let you be able to see this as we continue. I'm going to not have everything as closed off as I did on this video, but each week there will be an extra video for the members and the subscribers of this YouTube channel that you can actually go through and look at. I will be more in depth on what I'm doing. I will give you some more areas to look at, and I will step by step walk you through it. You are going to almost get everything out of this form series if you're a member on this channel as you would if you worked with me in coaching, whether that's in person or virtually over the internet. So I honestly, being a subscriber on this channel at this point in time can save you a considerable amount of money. Coaching program is much more as a full coaching program than this video series. So guys, I appreciate you watching this video. Keep an eye out for some more as we go through. Keep an eye out again on Instagram. This week, I've got a really fun Instacast is what I'm calling them, essentially a podcast on Instagram. That's coming out tonight if you're watching this video on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. I've got Christopher off of Rogue Bowstrings that's going to be joining me. We're going to be talking strings and all the nitty-gritty that goes into that. All the things that I don't understand, that most people don't understand, ways that we can help build out a more solid rig. And then if you have questions, you can join in live and you can pick his brain or mine if there's other things that maybe I can answer in certain areas. And we'll be live for about an hour and be able to go over all of the archery side of things with strings that hopefully will help you out with your journey as well. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.